All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Um,
Okay,
can everyone hear?
let's see. Becky can hear. Yes, yes, I'm seeing lots of yeses. What about you, Adolfo? Oh, I guess if you can't hear.
Hopefully he'll be able to start
Yes.
hearing. So for those of you just entering, please take a moment and sign in using the QR code so that we know that you're here. That would be great. Thank you very much. My name is Lisa Adams, and I am the Scholarship Coordinator for the Global Education Office. Tonight, you will be listening to myself, to Kelly McNulty, Dan Frank, and Megan Bruning, as well as a few students who are recipients of scholarships over the past summer. And we're all going to be telling you a little bit about different ways to fund your study abroad experience. So tonight, the person starting it off is going to be Kelly McNulty. One thing I will say beforehand, if you do have questions, please feel free to pose them in the chat. We've got several wonderful staff members attending who are going to be fielding those questions. So feel free to use the chat feature there. Kelly McNulty is the manager of experiential programs for the Global Education Office, and she's going to start us out tonight by talking a little bit about some of the programs that GEO offers, as well as some of the more affordable study abroad options as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to her for a moment, and then you'll see me in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. So yes, I manage our internships abroad. So if you end up applying for those programs, we will chat at some point. But to share generally about our GEO programs, then we have more than 200 study abroad programs that are back in full force in more than 60 countries. We're working with more than 100 global education partners. Some are universities abroad, some are nonprofits, some are companies with field offices, so lots of different partners. And we've recently given out more than $200,000 in GEO scholarships in particular. And then throughout this, we're going to share some examples of recent programs and things that you can apply to. So this one right here is the Switzerland International Security Studies Program, which is open now for summer. So we have a few different types of programs. So the Mason-led programs, this is where you will be traveling with a Mason faculty member and taking a Mason course abroad. They're often anywhere from, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks. Some often will be maybe about 2 to 3, but they could be longer and be a semester, for example, in Oxford or Florence. Most are during the summer or winter. And they're open now, again, for summer and winter, but these are where you'll be earning Mason credits. So you'll be traveling as a group then of Mason students then with a faculty member, taking a class and learning in a very hands-on way there. The second option here is a traditional study abroad with partner schools. So you'll be enrolling in a university there and then transferring back in credits. So we have summer, semester, and year-long programs. Should also mention that we do have Mason Korea campus there. So those are Mason credits already as well. But for our partner schools, then you would choose from their course catalog and be transferring in them the equivalent at Mason. And you're working with more than 60 partner institutions around the world. And then these are the ones I work on, internships abroad. So we have virtual travel and hybrid options. So our travel ones are where students are going abroad for anywhere from really 4 to 11 weeks for internships. Our virtual ones are remote internships with international companies. And then the hybrid is the in-between. So that would be where students are mostly remote for semester or summer, but then they would go in person and work out of those field offices then for 1 to 4 weeks then. But we have more than 20 locations, and we either have options for where students then are placed in a guaranteed internship in their field, or they build their own internship, so where they secure their own. Most of these are in the summer and semester, but winter break may be possible for if students find their own internship, but majority are summer. So generally for cost and funding, these programs are financial aid eligible for half-time students or more, and I'll let Dan from financial aid share a little bit more about that. But for your applications then, there'll be a question that says, do you plan to use financial aid to finance your program? So you would mark yes in that if you're remotely considering it, and you would talk to your financial aid counselor. For payment and costs, then you will see on each program page, there's going to be a tab called a cost sheet. So it's the last tab over on your program page. And if it's not listed yet, it will be soon. And you could always chat with your program administrator for some estimates too. But in general, there's a $200 app fee for most of our programs that you would pay that's non-refundable. You pay it by credit or debit card on our Mason Abroad application site. But the rest of the program fees then are placed on your Mason student account. So the account that you usually use to pay tuition then. So $200 on the Mason Abroad site when applying, and then the rest then are placed on your student account. And you would log in and pay it off by the start of the study abroad term. So for the summer, that's looking like around May 13th or so. So you log in and pay it off by the start, similar to how you would with your tuition. The cost of the programs range greatly because some may include housing, some may not, some may just be with in-state tuition credits, and some may be a more bundled package. So it varies based on program length, location, and type. So here are a couple of affordable options. Then these are not the only ones, but these are ones we wanted to highlight. So for internships, for our programs, it is the same program fee for in-state and out-of-state students. I mentioned the Build Your Own Internship program. This is where students find their own internship and then come to us for credits and a guaranteed travel grant, anywhere from $250 to $1,000. The cost of that is just in-state tuition for all students again. And that often can be a great opportunity for international students too, who may be traveling home as well. Virtual internships that you do remote. Many students will do that while working other jobs as well. And then hybrid internships, there is a set fee above in-state tuition because it includes housing and everything, but it's shorter travel expenses and usually a bit more affordable. We do have one paid teaching program. It's teaching English as a foreign language in Thailand, where you receive a stipend for that. And a couple other things were the Argentina programs. There's 3 housing options that are quite different in price, including finding your own housing. And then one to highlight as most affordable would be Quito, Ecuador. We have some homestay options that will include meals within it, home cooked meals there. And then we have some shorter 4 to 6 week options for students that are looking for 3 credit programs. So potentially then if they want to do a 4-week option and then come home and then work another job or whatever works best for you. In terms of semester programs, then in-state students, it's most beneficial to seek out the exchange programs because you would pay Mason tuition there. So whatever you usually pay Mason, you would pay there in addition to housing then. But for out-of-state students, direct enroll is usually most effective because you will pay the international university's tuition. So you will see the cost of that listed online under the financial info tab, and it differs with each one. But for Mason Korea, you will pay your usual Mason tuition, whether that's in-state or out-of-state. In terms of Mason-led programs, these are the ones that you travel with faculty members. Again, same thing, the in-state and out-of-state students would pay the same fee. They are usually just short-term ones over different breaks. And here are a few to highlight. The Greece and Italy monumental politics, Morocco Arabic language and Rabat for winter break, and then spring break, the Costa Rica Environmental Law and Justice Program, and then the summer, the Netherlands and Germany program as well. So there's a lot more options beyond this, but these are just a few to highlight.
Thank you, Kelly. Now that Kelly has told you a little bit about all of the amazing programs that GEO offers, or some of them, I should say, I'll talk to you a little bit about the different types of scholarships that are available. Number one, we've got the Global Education Office scholarships, and I'll be highlighting some of those in just a moment. Secondly, there are Mason scholarships available, and those are departmental scholarships that you can use to study abroad, I recommend reaching out to your department and seeing what options they may have, or if they have some. And then finally, there are external fellowships and grants, and you'll be hearing later on from Megan Bruning about those. The QR code will take you to this link, and you can look directly at the different GEO scholarships that are available right now. So the GEO scholarships and grants, there are a lot of different opportunities for students to gain some funding to help supplement the price point of studying abroad. If you have never applied for a passport before and are going to study abroad with one of the GEO programs, there is a passport grant available. It requires a little documentation on your end to upload the information. It is a needs-based grant, but it is something that is open for first-time passport applicants. So recommend that if you are in that category. The next scholarship that we have, there's a Global Perspective Scholarship, and that for this term right now will be provided for students who are going on a winter program, and that is for just a winter. It's also available for summer for those of you who are not quite ready to study abroad yet but are thinking ahead to summer. Diversifying study abroad, that scholarship, it is a need-based scholarship, and its purpose is to actually just try to gain diversity and participation and help students, again, defray the cost of studying abroad. The next three Kelly touched on a little bit before. They are things that the Featured Exchange Program grant is something that if you apply to and do an exchange, there are certain locations and amounts associated with those locations that you could receive. She mentioned the Build Your Own Travel Grant. Those are based on the number of credit hours, the funding, and the amount that you would get. And then there is a Summer Global Internship Scholarship, which is need and merit based. Again, that's not open right now. Currently, for this cycle, you can apply for the Passport Grant, Global Perspective Scholarship, and Diversifying Study Abroad. And then the others below, you can seek out more information if you're interested in those and reach out to those folks. In addition to the GEO scholarships, we have a number of donor-funded scholarships housed under GEO. These are scholarships that come from endowments, families that want to give back to the university and help students study abroad. A lot of these do have specific criteria that you have to meet. For example, the Jackman Family Foundation Education Abroad Scholarship is something intended for first-time study abroad participants. So you do need to look at the requirements and make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the certain scholarships before you apply. The Ernest and Flory J. Walker Study Abroad Scholarship is a new scholarship for African and African American studies majors and minors. And you can probably guess that the French studies, the Gundes for Oppenheimer, is intended for, it doesn't have to necessarily be a French major, but it is someone who has 9 credits in French and is going away for a semester-long French studies program. The next 3 are not open at this point in time, but will be open for the cycle for summer and fall. The Thank You Veterans Award is a big one, as you see, and that is intended to significantly help defray the cost of a student veteran. The Chip Whitten Scholarship is for a summer UK or Ireland program. And the Love KK Scholarship, you're going to hear a little bit about that in a few minutes, but that is intended for a certain program as well for going to Milan. Some information to keep in mind as you're thinking about scholarships. You think about making sure that you have an open application to one of our GEO programs before you apply, as I mentioned before, looking at the eligibility requirements and making sure that you do meet those before you apply. I recommend taking time to answer the required questions on the GEO Scholarship Questionnaire. This is how our reviewers get to know you. This is how they get to get a picture of who you are and then determine, along with some of the financial need, eligibility and recipient information. So we want the students to be able to give a little look into who they are. We do want you to also look at some post-program requirements. There are some of the scholarships, especially the donor scholarships, that require students to maybe meet with the donor or to write a thank you letter or create a presentation and present in front of the donor. So if you're not willing to do that, then I say just make sure that you are before you apply for those scholarships. Scholarships right now are open until October 10th. Our goal is to let students know by November 17th if they have received a scholarship. And if you are a recipient and you are going to receive funds, all of the scholarships go to your Mason account, except for the Love KK scholarship that I mentioned. Everything else would be applied to your Mason account. So if you have any general scholarship questions, don't hesitate to reach out, send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Next, I want to introduce one of our student recipients. Her name is Cheyenne. She's going to tell us a little bit about the scholarships that she received over the summer and about her program and just any helpful tidbits of information she might have for you as you begin to apply. Thanks, Cheyenne.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne. I'm a sophomore here at Mason, and I'm also a communications major. I went on the Italian Media Society and Culture study abroad in Milan, and that was a summer abroad trip, so it was about like a month. Why I chose my study abroad was because it would directly help me with my credits for communications. But also because I had never traveled outside of the country really, except for Mexico. So I had never went to Europe. And I thought that Italy would have been and was the perfect place for me to travel first. It was a great experience for me. I got to be independent during the summer. I got to learn about Italian culture, like music, the cinema there, and things like that. I got to taste amazing food. And although I didn't shop a lot, there's amazing shops and just beautiful sights in Milan and in Italy. So with my scholarship experience, I applied to two, which was the Jacobin. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Okay. And the KK Love, which was directly for the study abroad that I took. So with applying, I personally copy and pasted like all of the questions onto a Word document. And then throughout the week, I just wrote kind of like what came to me for each question, and I kind of went back and kept adding more onto each question. But I also had my sister and my mom look over them just to kind of like check for spelling mistakes and things like that. But for both scholarships, they required some things afterwards. One of them was a picture or a video. And then the Jackman, sorry, that's my dog. And then the Jackman also required just like a little PowerPoint of your time studying abroad and kind of like the impact of it. And then also there's supposed to be a banquet soon for the recipients. Personally, the scholarships really helped me because I was paying out of pocket for the study abroad trip. And they just really helped me to be able to experience this wonderful experience of studying abroad, which really just helped me become more what's the word, adept to like the world, and just experience something new and something on my own. So yeah.
Thank you, Cheyenne. I appreciate you sharing that experience. Next up, we are going to, if my computer will work, there we go. We're going to hear from Dan Frank. He is the Senior Assistant Director with the Office of Student Financial Aid.
Hi there, everybody. My name again, yes, is Dan Frank. Um,
And
if
Dan, you're cutting in
anybody
and out.
studies abroad, they're going to talk to me. So when it comes down to it, guys, if you ever need anything, you know how to get in touch with me. That'll be here at the end of these slides. Yes.
Better.
Are you able to at least see me?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, is that better? Okay.
Better.
All right, let's see. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Are you ready
There
for
we
the
go.
next one, Dan? You had cut out earlier, so I
Yeah,
didn't hear.
yeah.
You're ready?
I'm not sure what's going on with the internet. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I didn't hear much of this portion, so
No,
do you-
that's okay. Yeah, I was trying to ask you to go to this slide. That's fine.
okay.
So just we're gonna go over pretty quick since I keep cutting in and out. And if I do cut out more, just let me know. What about my aid? Like, will my aid be able to be used for financial aid? What are the steps for securing my aid? Do I have to meet with a financial aid counselor? I want to go over that too. What if I'm not using just financial aid? What if I'm using VA benefits or college saving plans? What do I do? Who do I talk to? How does the financial aid work for non-Mason programs that are independently arranged trips? When am I billed for the winter? When am I billed for spring break programs? These are questions I want to go over as well. And of course, can I use financially during the summer for studying abroad? What if I take other courses as well here at Mason? I'm going to go over all of that. All right, Lisa, I'll have you advance. So this here is just an example of one of the cost sheets you will see online. So when it comes down to it, the big thing is with your financial aid, any financial you have can be used towards these costs. So as long as your program is going to be towards your degree, you can use these programs. Now, the one section I want you guys to pay attention to is that top section, what's it called, the billable section or budget item. You will see that it says application fee. There's that $200 that you will be spending to apply for your program. Underneath that, you see the administrative fee, and you see the, for example, George Mason University tuition and credits. These here are what would show up on your Mason bill. Underneath that, you see what's the non-billable subtotal. That includes in this one program, for example, the host country health insurance, all the way to the passport. They give you estimated costs. I'm going to develop and build your cost of attendance from when you're a student with the program. I'm going to be notified about that. I will set up your file, whether you're going to be using financial aid or not. I'm going to make sure everybody is set up. Just in case, for example, if you get any scholarships that you weren't expecting for or not currently on your account now, but maybe you get some later, I'm going to make sure that your account is set up in this format. So this way you can utilize funds for these trips. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Now, the one question I get often from students when it comes to financial is, what would my anticipated balance be? The big thing is when you go through and you're looking at your cost sheet, when you see what kind of billable expenses you're going to have. So you're going to be paying that $200 application fee out of pocket, but those other costs that are associated with your program. So if you're in the gateway program, for example, you're going to have the tuition and fees that you'll see, but you'll also have the room and board. That's also going to be part of your program. For the standard study abroad spring semester, let's say you're going to France on one of their programs, You would see that tuition from GEO, you would see the program fee from GEO. Those will be the items that will be on your bill. What you're going to do is you're going to take your financial aid that you see. If you have any grants or scholarships already listed on your account, you can subtract that from your what you can see from your billing items. If you have any loans that you've accepted, you can subtract those as well. And that will show you what estimated costs you will have, or if you have any additional costs to cover. But I want to go over the next slide, which is one of my most important slides I can go over with you, is what about financial aid? What about talking to Dan? What about talking to anybody in our office? Okay. The thing is I want you to do some initial steps for me first. The number one thing that you'll do first, you find the program you're interested in. If you want to talk to financial aid before you go, or before you even apply for the program, that's fully understandable. Print out that cost sheet and then bring that with you to the financial aid office. This way we can sit down, we can go over the cost of the program, comparing it to your financial aid. And this way we can see if it's a doable program for you, if you need to find other funds, if it's going to be something we need to look for now or in the future. The big thing that, so you know what financial aid does, is once you apply for that program with GEO, once you are accepted and you confirm that you're going to attend, they will add you to a roster for me to look at. And then I will update your cost of attendance and update your financial aid as needed. If I have to make any changes to your program, or not to your program, sorry, but to your financial aid for that particular semester, you will receive an email from me. Okay, I will keep you in the loop through that. Your aid will be set up so this way, for example, if you have a program that is a spring semester program, but let's say it starts in February. Okay, so like for example, our Mason career program, I am going to put a hold on your account. Now, this is not going to prevent you from registering or anything like that. The hold I'm going to add is just to make sure that your financial aid or any aid that you have on file pays at the right time. For example, for federal rules, when it comes to financial aid, aid cannot pay to somebody's account until 10 days before their semester begins. So I have to make sure that if your program begins on the same day as Mason here in Fairfax, or before that, your aid will pay the same day for Fairfax. But if you start after those courses start traditionally here at Mason at the Fairfax campus, just know I'm going to add a hold to prevent that disbursement, to make sure I protect you. Now, for the next slide, and I do apologize, I have a bit of a cold. What if you have other ways, like what if you're planning to use other methods to pay? This slide's really, really important because I know a lot of my students use VA benefits. A lot of you have college savings plans. And for those different parts, those involve other offices besides financial aid. So if you're using VA benefits, if you're using post 9/11 GI Bill, you're going to want to get in touch with the Military Services Office. So military@gmu.edu. If you're going to be using a 529 plan, a college savings plan, you're going to want to reach out to the Student Accounts Office, and their email is there below as well. But they're going to be able to guide you in terms of what you need to do for those two specific programs as well. All right, so Lisa, I'll have you go to the next slide. Now, this one I'm going to take a moment to speak on. Now, we don't have many students that do this, but there always are about 3 or 4 of you every semester. There are programs called non-Mason external programs. This is where you are going to an outside agency you're not going through a program that's already offered through GEO's website. You're going to find their program, you apply, you go on this trip, but it's something where you have to do your plan of study and things like that. Now, for financial aid purposes, we have to do what's called a consortium. Now, the sooner you know about this program, the better, because if you are looking at using any kind of financial aid at all, scholarships, grants, loans, you need to get in touch with us right away. So for example, if you're looking at attending there in the something like this in the spring semester, you need to come see us right away, because there's a lot that's involved, and a lot of that work is going to involve you helping us out. There's a consortium form that you are going to complete. You're going to send to the school you're going to go to. Once you register, you have to get us the copy of that registration. You also need to make sure that you are doing the plan of study and getting us a copy of that plan of study so we can do a lot of cost comparison to make sure that that your aid that you actually have showing for financial aid can apply to your account. So if you're looking at doing a non-Mason program, just know it's a little bit more legwork, and make sure you give us more time to work with you on that. All right. So next page. So these are some of the short-term programs. So you have your spring semester program that goes the entire spring semester. You have your fall semester program goes the whole fall semester, but there are, of course, short terms as well. Now, for the winter study abroad, for spring break, those are all going to be associated with your spring semester financial aid. So when your aid pays to your account for your spring semester bill, just know you're going to have your spring break program charges or your winter program charges, or both if you're going to attend both. I've had students go to both programs as well as attending a spring semester. So just know you may have in the spring, if you're taking 12 credits just here in that spring semester, but if you're taking a 3-credit hour in spring break and a 3-credit hour in winter study abroad, that's 6 more credits. You're going to show you have 18 credits. Just so you know, that's going to show up as a registration for you. But when you come to work with us, when it comes to your financial aid, I'm not going to lie. My first goal was making sure your spring semester is covered. If you have more aid than what you need, or if we need to search for other aid, we're going to go over that. And that way you can go out and apply for other funding if you need to apply for it. And this way we can make sure you can get those other program expenses covered for that study abroad experience. Now, for summer, can you get financial aid for summer? Yes, you can. The first thing what we want to do is make sure that when you have financial aid set up for summer, just know you have to still follow federal rules. So if you're looking at student loans, student grants, and things like that, we need to be enrolled in at least half time. So as an undergraduate, that means 6 credit hours total in the summer. And I know that some of the programs that they offer during the summer are 6 credits or more, but you will also have programs that are 3 credits. And that's less than half time. But if you take another course sometime throughout the summer here at Mason for 3 other credits, you'll be half time and you'll be eligible for aid. When it comes to summer is when we start processing summer aid for students starting in April. You'll be registering for those classes. You'll be applying for those programs before April. Just know in April is when I start receiving a roster. And I will be reaching out to students at that time saying, hey, I see you've been accepted. You're looking at a program here this summer. Follow these steps and I'll provide you guidance from it. I don't want to bug you down in terms of stuff that you need to worry about at this one exact second. All right, so Lisa, I'll have you go to the next slide. All right, so anything else that may be important? Yes, there is. The key to anything when it comes to financial aid is communication, okay? If you apply for your program and you get accepted to your program, that's great. I will see information on you based on the response you have. I know they mentioned it earlier in the presentation, whether you're going to use financial aid or not. Well, guess what? Even if you answer no to that question, I'm still going to get your information to make sure I set up your cost of attendance, any holds or anything like that. Like I said, it's just to make sure that in case you have any scholarships that come in, I want your account to be ready to roll. Okay. Some of you may realize, oh, I'm not going to use financial aid right now. So you answer no to it. And then 2 weeks from now, you change your mind. Well, I'm still going to make sure that your account is adjusted and set up appropriately to make sure you guys are all taken care of. If you guys change your mind, if you guys are deciding you're not going to go on your trip, if you end up canceling your trip, and you know that we've updated your cost of attendance, you know that we've updated information for you, you need to let me know. Please, please do. It helps me get things clear for you much quicker and can reset up your account. Back to, for example, if you're not going to go on a spring semester trip, I can update your account right away if you tell me. All right. I can usually find out about a week or 2 in, but I'd rather hear from you if you know you're changing courses around. If you're going to be doing a non-Mason program, I want to know that as soon as possible. That is a big thing. Once you fill out your plan of study for your program, you'll submit that. If any changes are made, please remember you have to submit a new plan of study with GEO to make sure things are approved. It's a very, very big deal because when it comes to financial aid, remember, we deal with a thing called SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress. If you attend somewhere and you don't transfer any credits back, let's say you take all courses and none of those courses are going to transfer back, that can affect your completion rate, which might make things more interesting when it comes to trying to figure out, are you going to be eligible for financial aid that next semester? So always make sure you are following up with your Mason emails, especially from GEO. Make sure that if you are studying abroad, that your plan of study and your checklist with their office is complete. If you change anything, get in touch with your GEO advisor and make sure if you ever have questions, you have to make sure you reach out to GEO. If you have questions about any kind of finances, reach out to me here in Financial Aid as well. All right. So lastly, I think is one more slide. Yep. So this here is just our contact information. The one thing you'll see here, and I know everybody's going to get a copy of the presentation, just so you know, there's a phone number there. I'm going to be the first person to tell you. I don't want you to call. And the reason why is because I don't want you to be on hold. See the email address, the contact. There's a link there. It takes you right to our contact us page. You can send us an email anytime. Please let us know. Just put your name, your G number in the email. Send it to us. You'll get a response usually within 1 to 2 business days at most. And this way we can make sure to get you guys taken care of as quickly as possible. I'd rather you not be on hold, waiting just to be transferred to tell somebody to tell you to go ahead and email us. I'd rather you just email that way you have written communication all throughout the process. And with that, Lisa, I think I am all set.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Next up, I'd like to introduce another student who actually used and received, I think, several grants and scholarships to help pay for their study abroad experience. Her name is Miriam. Thank you, Miriam.
Hi, I'm Miriam, and I did my internship in Morocco for summer 2023. Specifically because of the experience, I have never traveled alone. I would always travel with family, and I really wanted to get that experience of going somewhere alone and building up that confidence. So specifically for that, I did apply. And I had a great time, honestly. I learned about their culture, their Arabic culture, which I was really interested in, and their food, their new people, learning new perspectives about life. And just having that experience of traveling alone I was a little overwhelmed, at the beginning when you first go, probably the first week or a couple days. It will get a little stressful and you'll be a little frustrated, specifically if you're going into a country where they don't speak very well English. So you will have that language barrier. But once you get through that stage, you'll really have a great time. I was a little hesitant in deciding whether or not I should go or not. But I took my chance and I'm grateful for it and I don't regret it. So if you're hesitant whether or not you should go, please go. You'll have a great time. Trust me. Just probably the first few days will be stressful for you, but once you get over that period, you'll have a great time there and you wouldn't want to come back. And for my scholarships, I applied to the Gilman Scholarship, and there was another external scholarship specifically for unpaid internships for summer 2023. And thankfully, I did get both of them. For my essay, there was a lot of writing. So I would say get started ahead of time and take your time into really thinking what you really want to tell them, what you're passionate about, what your likes are, and how you're going to organize it so your essays make the most sense. And I did use the GMU resources, and I made sure I got my essays proofread. And they really helped me. They gave me feedback, and then I made all the edits that I could. And I think really just take your time with the essays. I will say don't procrastinate and don't leave it for the last minute. I will say the more time you put into the essay, the better it will come out, because it gives you time to think, and you will start adding up more points for the essay. And then once you organize it, it'll come out to be the perfect version that you can make of it. So yeah, I will say that if you were scared, because I hadn't traveled ever before alone. So if you're trying to do that, you're trying to gain that experience, I will say it will really help you build confidence, get more experience just in general, not academically, but just a real life experience. So I think you should go ahead and do it.
Thank you, Miriam. I appreciate those words of advice for students as they're getting ready to apply for scholarships. Next up, we're going to hear from Megan Bruning from the Office of Fellowships.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Megan Bruning. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the director of the Office of Fellowships here at Mason. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what is a fellowship and how is it different than a scholarship or a grant? That's a great question. So a fellowship is an external, nationally competitive award that's given to you, the individual student. The word external means the money does not come from Mason. Right, so that's what makes the fellowship different from like the GEO scholarships that we talked about. Also, these awards are nationally competitive. Usually, for fellowships that pay for study abroad, they may consider financial need, but most often you're competing against students on the basis of merit or the argument that you make for why you need to study abroad. And again, fellowships are always given to you, the individual student. So there are many fellowships out there that can help you provide funding for study abroad. Some fellowship programs will give you money for the entire journey, all the expenses. Other fellowships will offer partial funding, right? They'll ask you, what expenses do you need assistance with? And they'll try to help you at least part way. Like I said, there are lots of different fellowships available. On the screen here, I've listed 4 of the most popular awards that Mason students have applied to and received. The first one is what Miriam was discussing, and there's a link to it in the chat as well. The Gilman Scholarship is for undergrad students that receive a Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is a type of federal grant, and if you're not sure if you have a Pell Grant, you contact the financial aid office. They can get you that answer really quickly. The Gilman Scholarship helps cover expenses for study abroad or an internship, as long as you are earning credit for either of those experiences. The Gilman Scholarship requires you, when you come back to the US, to do a community engagement project where you tell other folks about the Gilman opportunity. The next example of fellowship I have is the Critical Language Scholarship. The Critical Language Scholarship is open to US citizens, undergraduate and graduate students that want to learn a foreign language the Department of State has deemed critical to US success. The CLS program occurs overseas during the summer, and it's a great opportunity to learn a language that you might not have access to here in the United States. Next, the Fulbright US Student Program. This is a long-term option if you want to go to grad school, do research, or work as an English teaching assistant overseas. It is for US citizens. There is a Fulbright Foreign Student Program for international students if you're looking for money to sponsor education in the States. And then the last award I want to point out here is called the Boren Awards. Boren Awards are for US citizens, undergraduates, and graduates that want to learn a language that is critical to the Department of Defense. So this is a great opportunity to go overseas and learn a language. And when you come back, the Boren will place you in a job working for the federal government. So it's a chance to get money, learn a language overseas, and then get a job when you return. So it's an amazing opportunity. So when it comes to what we do in our office, right? It's our job first to help you choose a fellowship, right? When you meet with us, we'll talk one-on-one about your goals, about your interests, and try and find you kind of the right fellowship. And then we will help you apply. So we will give you feedback on any essays. We'll talk to you about who to ask for recommendations. Any part of the application that you need to complete, we are here to help you apply. Lisa, if you can go to the next slide. Okay. Sometimes students ask me, what should I think about if I want to apply to a fellowship? Or what can I do to make myself a competitive applicant? Because, like I said, for fellowships, you're competing with people, across the nation. So a few things to keep in mind. First, the fellowship application cycle is usually a year in length. So in other words, you have to apply early, right? Most of the time, right, you apply, like I said, a year in advance. So you apply for something this fall, you get the money the next fall. there are a few fellowships that work more quickly. The Gilman is one of them, right? But just know that if you are looking for external aid to pay for study abroad, you want to start searching soon, right? And contact our office so we can help you find an award. Second thing to bear in mind, fellowships for study abroad will always ask you to explain what program and what country you want to apply to. So before you start the application, you have to pick that destination first. They're going to ask you specific questions about why you've chosen this country, what you hope to get out of the program. So pick your program first. Third, I mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating. Fellowships may not cover everything. Part of my job is to help you read through all of those guidelines, so you are super clear on what the fellowship will pay for and if there are any expenses left. And the last thing about making yourself a strong applicant, no matter what the fellowship is, if it's Gilman or Fulbright, strong applicants will always explain how the specific country you've chosen and the program fits into your academic and professional goals. So in other words, you want to be really specific. Simply stating that you want to explore the world is a really great, kind of desire, but it's not a strong enough argument to get money, right? So you want to explain how this internship, these courses, this country is going to help you achieve your goals, whether it's getting a certain degree, or getting a certain kind of job. Lisa, we can go to the next. So where do you find us? We are located on the Fairfax campus in the Johnson Center, Suite 228. If you want to set up an appointment and explore fellowships, email us at pgfs@gmu.edu. I also encourage you to check out our social media. We're on Instagram and Twitter at GMU Fellowships and GradFells GMU. Follow us on there to kind of keep updated on what fellowships are open for applications. I also have walk-in hours. If you prefer to talk in person, you can find me in the Center for Culture, Equity, and Empowerment every Monday afternoon. Mason Square, I'm there once a month. Follow us on social media to see when. And then I'm at the SciTech or Manassas campus the last Wednesday of every month. So I will be there tomorrow from 1 to 4 p.m. But please always send us an email whenever you want to explore fellowships. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.
So I'm sure it seemed as though there might have been a lot of questions that might have gone through the chat, but are there any questions that anyone would like to ask now while you've got us all online? Feel free to unmute yourself, or if not, we can go to the next slide. I'll give you a second.
A quick question, if I may. If I have a student that's interested in the spring study abroad that begins in mid-January, is it still time to apply for some of these scholarships and fellowships that were mentioned?
For the spring, yes. If it's a GEO program, yes, we have. Those applications for spring are due October 10th.
Outstanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Gilman Scholarship is also open until I think the beginning of October as well. So a student could still apply for that.
Great. We'll certainly look at that. Thank you, Mary.
If there are no other questions, I'll move on to the next slide. So next steps, if you haven't already done so, explore Mason Abroad and look at the programs that are offered. If you've already done so and now you're thinking, okay, I need to start applying for different scholarships or meeting with fellowships or financial aid, now you know who to contact. Just definitely get those applications in. Marialis just mentioned the Gilman is open, I think, through October 5th. GEO scholarships, again, close October 10th for winter and spring. And just make sure you're following up with your financial aid and academic advisors, and feel free to email us if you have any questions. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa, Kelly, Megan.
you.
Extremely helpful. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.